In the red corner, we have somatic therapy. In the right corner, we have talk therapy. Today, we're going to be battling out talk therapy versus somatic therapy, which is the winner when it comes to healing childhood trauma. Getting a bit excited there. It's an exciting subject. Hi, I'm Ewan the therapist. Welcome to my channel. Just like I said, today we're going to be discussing what are the merits and benefits of talk therapy versus somatic therapy. When it comes to healing childhood trauma, where should you start? What's the best? I'm going to weigh in on this and see which one comes out the winner, so stay tuned. Now, ultimately, talk therapy versus somatic therapy, I'm going to go really, sadly to say, with both. So let's say it's a little bit of a draw, but it's more about the sequence rather than one or the other. Now, to me, somatic therapy, when it comes to healing childhood trauma, is really fundamental. It's a foundational piece in the healing process because there is so much research from the Body Keeps Score, the Body Remembers, the ACE studies that show that childhood trauma is lodged in our nervous system. It's lodged in our body, our somatic experience. And no matter how much talk therapy we get, unless some of that is softened, regulated, calmed down, we're always going to hit a limit in talk therapy. And that's where people do say, where they feel like, I've been talking for years and I still feel like I'm back where I started. And that's because on one level, a lot of it's very mental, and that has a value, and I'll come to that in a second. But to begin with, our nervous system needs to be settled and calmed down. So to me, in terms of the battle between talk therapy and somatic therapy, it's really the sequence and where these fit in. And to me, somatic therapy, whether it's, for myself, I work with tremoring, trauma release exercises, safe and sound protocol, there's somatic experiencing, there's quite a selection of somatic therapies to work with. But the foundational principle is the same, which is starting with our nervous system. Starting with calming our nervous system, working with the vagal nerve, and getting to the point where we feel like we're not in this fight or flight response and we're able to kind of feel settled. And it's not until you have that experience, at least in my experience clinically and on a personal level, that you realize, for instance, with anxiety, how much of my anxiety is physiological. Because I used to think, well, my anxiety is just like this mental activity and I'm anxious and it's this fretful, anxious thing that's really just going on in my mind. That's when I feel like my anxiety lives. It's something mental. And to fix my anxiety, I need to meditate, I need to do this, I need to do that. And as I started having this experience of my nervous system settling, suddenly I felt this background quietness that came from my body. And I suddenly had this kind of like before and after effect where I realized how much of my anxiety is the hum of my nervous system. And as that settles, as my nervous system quietens, suddenly my mind follows. Not the other way around, where I quieten my mind and then my body relaxes. So this feeling of body relaxing, body calming, to me, from a sequence point of view, needs to come first. You need to kind of establish that, because creating safety in the body creates a more safe space emotionally and mentally to work on other issues. It's where you can start a meditation practice, and sometimes before you can do that, you need to kind of start with a somatic practice. So it's never like linear in the sense of, you have to do 2 months of this before you even talk about anything. They work hand in hand, but for me, I think to begin with clients with somatic therapy is a really great starting point. And then from that, you can build talk therapy on that. And talk therapy has a value, 100%, in terms of feeling listened to. I know for me, when I first started therapy, there are things that I spoke to my therapist about that I'd never spoken to anyone about. And that had a real value. For the first time in my life, I felt like someone was attentively listening to be able to reflect back. There's a relationship that comes from talk therapy where I feel cared for and supported. So, to me, they work really well together. So rather than being a battle between somatic therapy and talk therapy, it's really a partnership. It's really how they come together in this kind of dance rather than duking them out. That was just for dramatic introduction. How they work together to support each other. And sometimes I circle back to somatic therapy. So there's periods where we're doing a lot of talk therapy, and then we circle back, and then the same again. And it's like it's there in the sort of our toolbox to use. But from a sequence point of view, I would always recommend, particularly if you're dealing with childhood trauma, starting off with somatic therapy, building talk therapy on top of that. And I think when you put those two together, it's a very powerful mix. I hope this has helped. If you've had any experiences distinguishing talk therapy and somatic therapy, please put it in the comments. If you'd like to find out more about how I work and what I do with somatic therapy, write heal in the comments section, and I'll send you a link to my free consultation page. I hope this has helped. Please take care of yourself. Bye-bye.